Welcome to another edition of 5 Questions here on the 5. 5 more questions because, hey, guess who's here again? Still. It's Mike Lederer. I don't know. We should just call it, let's talk to Mike Lederer time.
You'll see somebody else on here at some point, Nick.
At some point in time, I got to get somebody, right? You know, I keep on swinging. Eventually, I'll hit something. I hope. We're talking NHL playoffs. This is your double dose of 5 questions, of course. The first time we were talking the West. Now we're talking the East. And you know what? We're going to start with Washington and New York. Of course, the Rangers. What do you like?
Well, you know, even though the Rangers dominated the season series between these two squads, winning 3 of 4 games and outscoring the Capitals by an 18-6 margin, including a 7-0 victory in Madison Square Garden back on February 18th, ultimately, I think the Capitals will prevail in this one. Washington's been playing their best hockey of the season since their last matchup against the Rangers, going 16-3-1 in their last 20 games. And you know, Nick, Washington completely changed their defensive system and implemented it throughout the regular season strictly for the playoffs. It is fresh in their minds, their first-round upset that they lost in their 1-8 matchup last year against the Montreal Canadiens. They do not want that to happen 2 years in a row. Last season, the Capitals were 16th in the league with goals against. This season improved that to 4th in the entire NHL. Ultimately, unless Henrik Lundqvist has an unbelievable series similar to that of Yaroslav Halak for the Canadiens last season, I think the Capitals will advance to the second round.
All right, your hometown boys, the Philadelphia Flyers, taking on the Buffalo Sabres. It's your 2-7 matchup. What do you see there?
Well, Nick, you know, this is a tale of two teams heading in opposite directions. The Sabres, one of the hottest teams in the entire Eastern Conference, 28-11-6 since the start of the new year. Buffalo finished 8-1-1 in their last 10 games, including 4 straight victories to get into the postseason. On the flip side, the Flyers have really struggled over the past 6 weeks since really controlling the Eastern Conference in that number 1 seed for the entire season. Just 3-4-3 in their last 10 games. And Nick, as always with Philadelphia, goaltending is the question mark. Young rookie Sergei Bobrovsky will get the start in net for Philadelphia. He gave up 3 goals on just 10 shots in his last start against the New York Islanders. And while Bobrovsky has shown flashes of brilliance this season, there's also question marks with inconsistency. Danny Briere probably will be a key for Philadelphia. 19 points in 15 career games against his former Buffalo Sabres team. And ultimately, it'll come down to star defenseman Chris Pronger. He's been sidelined since March 8th with a hand injury. Pronger did not participate in practice on Monday, participated in some special teams drills. And the Flyers also recalled defenseman Matt Walker. If Pronger's out, I think Philadelphia is going to struggle, and I think Buffalo is definitely primed for an upset in this matchup.
Okay, well, next matchup, let's stay in the Northeast this time because that's where we like staying when we talk about the Eastern Conference and hockey. Is we're not going to leave. Not yet. We've got Boston, Montreal. That's the next matchup. What do you see?
Nick, this is going to be an outstanding series to watch. A ton of bad blood between two teams that are the definition of arch rivals. The 33rd meeting all time in the playoffs between the Habs and the Sabres. Montreal leads the series 24-8. However, Boston has won 6 of the last 10 matchups between the two teams, including a sweep just 2 seasons ago in the first round. Now, I think it's going to come down to goaltending for Montreal. I talked earlier about the unbelievable job that Yaroslav Halak did in net for the Canadiens last season. Well, he was rewarded by being jettisoned to St. Louis. He now plays for the Blues, and young goaltender Carey Price in net. Price struggled in the postseason 2 years ago. He's been inconsistent as a young goaltender, and ultimately I think the depth on Boston will just be too much for the Canadiens to overcome.
Okay, fine. I'll get out of the Northeast. We'll leave it.
If you have to.
If I need to, I do. I really need to get out of the Northeast. Let's be real. Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, that's the last matchup. What do you see?
Well, you know, it's unbelievable the job that Pittsburgh has done without Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. Crosby will likely not be back for the first round. He started light skating, but he's not been cleared for contact drills. But without him, Pittsburgh just keeps on chugging. I mean, the addition of Alexei Kovalev at the deadline has really helped the power play, which was struggling immensely without Crosby and Malkin. And Nick, Tampa Bay has really struggled in that. Dwayne Rollerson, who they acquired from New York, the New York Islanders at the trade deadline, has helped a bit, but Tampa Bay allowed 240 goals on the season, the most of any team that qualified for the playoffs. On the flip side, since the start of the year and really the first 6 weeks of the season, Marc-Andre Fleury has been sensational in net. I think the difference in goaltending will be the difference in this series. I expect it to go 6 or 7, but ultimately I think the Penguins will prevail.
So is that the series that you're watching, or which one are you going to be paying close attention to?
Well, really, I think in the Eastern Conference, all 4 matchups are going to go deep into their series, and all 4 matchups are going to be great matchups. But if I had to pick one, I think that Pittsburgh-Tampa Bay series is going to be great to watch. I mean, you have the scoring of Steven Stamkos and Martin St. Louis on the Tampa Bay side, as well as just this team that's come together in Pittsburgh without their 2 star players, really playing great hockey. Dan Bleisman has done an outstanding job with that Pittsburgh squad, and I think it's going to be a great series to watch.
All right, those are your 5 questions here on the 5. Double dose today, of course, talking NHL playoffs. Check back. We'll be back later this week.